15 minutes. That's all you needed. 15 minutes to grab coffee, pick up dry cleaning, or handle that quick errand. But when you return to your car, there it is. That dreaded orange envelope tucked under your windshield wiper like a cosmic middle finger from the universe. Your heart sinks, your jaw clenches. Your mind immediately launches into a tirade of injustice. I was only gone for 10 minutes. The meter still had time left. This is absolutely ridiculous. But what if that parking ticket isn't a random punishment or bureaucratic annoyance? What if it's actually a precisely calibrated spiritual examination designed to test your mastery of one of life's most essential spiritual qualities? According to Paramhansa Yogananda's revolutionary understanding of divine curriculum and soul testing, the small daily frustrations that trigger your anger, impatience, and sense of injustice, especially those seemingly unfair situations like parking tickets, slow internet, long lines, or traffic jams, are actually the universe's graduate-level courses in patience, acceptance, and emotional mastery. These aren't random inconveniences happening to you. They're specifically designed spiritual pop quizzes, testing whether you've developed the inner peace and emotional equilibrium that mark true spiritual advancement. Yogananda taught that the soul's readiness for higher spiritual experiences is measured not by how well you meditate in perfect conditions, but by how peacefully you respond when the universe deliberately disrupts your plans with minor but irritating obstacles. Your parking ticket is actually your diploma exam in divine patience. The universe doesn't test your spiritual growth through dramatic crises. It tests you through the accumulated weight of small annoyances that reveal whether you've truly mastered your emotional reactions or are still enslaved by external circumstances. For those ready to discover how daily frustrations are actually spiritual advancement opportunities and transform irritation into inner peace mastery, willingly embrace this perspective by typing "Universe Test" in the comments below. Most people understand parking tickets and daily annoyances through the lens of bad luck, poor timing, or systemic inefficiency. But Yogananda approached these experiences through the revolutionary perspective of cosmic education and spiritual testing. He taught that the universe operates like a master teacher who knows exactly which lessons each soul needs to learn and delivers those lessons through the most ordinary circumstances. Your parking ticket appears not because you're unlucky, but because your soul is ready to be tested on patience, acceptance, and emotional mastery. The universe is asking, have you developed enough inner peace to remain calm when external circumstances don't match your preferences? This understanding completely transforms how we interpret daily frustrations. That parking ticket isn't evidence that life is unfair. It's evidence that you're enrolled in advanced spiritual education. The slow cashier isn't ruining your day. They're providing you with a patience practicum. The traffic jam isn't a waste of time. It's a meditation opportunity disguised as an inconvenience. When you begin to see irritating situations as spiritual curriculum rather than random problems, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a conscious student of life's lessons. You start to understand that the universe is constantly providing you with exactly the experiences you need to develop the spiritual qualities that will serve your highest evolution. What daily frustrations consistently trigger your impatience or anger in ways that might reveal areas where you need more spiritual development? Share your recognition with a spiritual lesson emoji in the comments. I'm about to reveal something that will permanently change how you respond to every minor annoyance and daily frustration in your life. Over the next several minutes, I'll unveil Yogananda's 7 patience lessons, profound spiritual teachings hidden within the most common irritating experiences that test your emotional mastery and reveal your true level of spiritual advancement. These aren't just philosophical concepts, they're practical wisdom tools that will transform every parking ticket, traffic jam, and daily inconvenience into opportunities for spiritual growth and inner peace development. To receive these life-changing insights with complete openness and begin seeing frustrations as spiritual advancement opportunities, I invite you to release any attachment to having life go according to your plans and embrace the possibility that every annoyance is actually a gift in disguise. Signal your readiness to find spiritual lessons in daily irritations by typing "Patience Mastery" now. Consider the last time you received a parking ticket or faced a similar, unfair situation that immediately triggered anger or frustration. Yogananda's first patience lesson is the attachment to control test. The universe uses parking tickets and similar minor injustices to reveal how attached you are to controlling external circumstances, and whether you've developed the spiritual maturity to remain peaceful when things don't go according to your plans. Perhaps you've noticed that parking tickets feel particularly infuriating because they represent a loss of control. You did everything right according to your understanding, but the outcome didn't match your expectations. Maybe you experience intense frustration when external systems, parking meters, bureaucracy, technology don't operate according to your timeline or preferences. Or possibly you find yourself getting disproportionately angry at situations where you feel powerless to change the outcome, revealing how much of your peace depends on external circumstances matching your desires. This test occurs because spiritual advancement requires developing the ability to maintain inner peace, regardless of external conditions. The universe is essentially asking, can you remain calm and centered when life doesn't cooperate with your plans? Have you developed enough inner stability to be happy, regardless of external circumstances? When you can receive a parking ticket with equanimity, you've passed a graduate-level course in non-attachment and emotional mastery. Your peace no longer depends on external validation or circumstances aligning with your preferences. Have you noticed that your level of frustration with minor inconveniences often reflects how much you're trying to control situations beyond your influence? The second profound patience lesson Yogananda identified is the Instant Gratification Transcendence test. The universe uses delays, slow service, and situations that require waiting to test whether you've developed the spiritual quality of patience or are still enslaved by the need for immediate satisfaction. Perhaps you've experienced intense irritation when forced to wait in long lines, deal with slow internet, or navigate bureaucratic processes that take longer than you think they should. Maybe you find yourself becoming agitated when other people move at a different pace than you prefer, or when systems don't respond as quickly as you expect them to. Or possibly you notice that your impatience increases when you're in a hurry, revealing how your inner peace depends on external timing matching your internal urgency. This test occurs because spiritual evolution requires developing the ability to be fully present and peaceful regardless of external timing or pace. The universe is asking, have you learned to find contentment in the present moment, or do you only feel good when things happen according to your timeline? When you can wait peacefully in any situation, you've mastered one of the most essential spiritual qualities, the ability to be happy now, regardless of when your desires are fulfilled. Your contentment no longer depends on external speed or efficiency. Can you identify situations where your impatience reveals your attachment to having things happen according to your preferred timeline? Acknowledge this awareness by sharing divine timing in the comments. The third essential patience lesson is the Fairness Illusion Transcendence test. The universe uses seemingly unfair situations, like undeserved parking tickets, to test whether you've developed spiritual maturity beyond the need for external justice, or are still attached to the illusion that life should always be fair according to human standards. Perhaps you've noticed that parking tickets feel particularly triggering because they violate your sense of fairness. You followed the rules as you understood them, but still received punishment. Maybe you experience intense frustration when you perceive that others are getting away with things you're being penalized for, or when systems seem inconsistently applied. Or possibly, you find yourself getting angry at situations where you feel you're being treated unfairly compared to others, revealing your attachment to external validation of your worthiness. This test occurs because spiritual advancement requires understanding that divine justice operates on a much larger scale than human fairness, and that your peace cannot depend on external systems treating you according to your expectations. The universe is asking, can you maintain equanimity when external circumstances seem unfair? Have you developed enough inner security to be peaceful regardless of how others are treated compared to you? When you can accept unfair treatment without losing your inner peace, you've transcended one of the ego's strongest attachments and developed true spiritual maturity. The fourth patience lesson Yogananda revealed is the Emotional Reactivity Mastery test. The universe uses minor but irritating situations to test whether you've developed conscious control over your emotional responses or are still unconsciously reactive to external triggers. Perhaps you've noticed that small annoyances like parking tickets can trigger disproportionately large emotional reactions. Anger that lasts for hours, frustration that affects your entire day, or resentment that you carry for weeks. Maybe you find yourself surprised by the intensity of your reactions to minor inconveniences, revealing how much emotional charge you're carrying around everyday situations. Or possibly, you've observed that your emotional responses to small frustrations often mirror your reactions to larger life challenges, suggesting that these minor tests are preparing you for bigger spiritual examinations. This test occurs because spiritual mastery requires developing the ability to choose your emotional responses consciously, rather than being automatically triggered by external circumstances. The universe is asking, have you learned to respond rather than react? Can you maintain emotional equilibrium when faced with minor irritations? When you can experience a parking ticket without any emotional disturbance, you've developed one of the most valuable spiritual skills, conscious emotional mastery that serves you in every area of life. The fifth profound lesson is the present moment awareness test. The universe uses frustrating delays and inconveniences to test whether you've learned to find peace and meaning in the present moment, or are still mentally living in the future where your plans and preferences matter more than current reality. Perhaps you've noticed that parking tickets and similar frustrations feel particularly annoying because they disrupt your mental timeline and force you to deal with present moment reality instead of your imagined future. Maybe you experience irritation when forced to slow down, wait, or handle unexpected situations because your mind is focused on where you want to be rather than where you are. Or possibly you find that minor inconveniences feel more frustrating when you're rushing toward future goals, revealing how much of your consciousness is invested in imaginary future scenarios rather than present moment awareness. This test occurs because spiritual enlightenment requires developing the ability to be fully present and peaceful regardless of external circumstances or timeline disruptions. The universe is asking, can you find contentment in this moment, even when it doesn't match your plans? Have you learned to be here now, or are you still mentally living in an imaginary future? When you can be completely present and peaceful while dealing with a parking ticket, you've mastered one of the most essential spiritual practices. The sixth patience lesson is the Ego Attachment Transcendence test. The universe uses situations that feel personally insulting or unfairly targeted to test whether you've developed spiritual identity beyond ego validation or are still attached to being treated according to your self-image. Perhaps you've noticed that parking tickets feel particularly offensive because they seem to question your competence, rule-following ability, or worthiness of fair treatment. Maybe you experience frustration when external systems don't recognize your good intentions, careful planning, or general law-abiding nature. Or possibly you find yourself taking minor inconveniences personally, as if the universe is specifically targeting you for unfair treatment, revealing how much your peace depends on external validation of your identity. This test occurs because spiritual advancement requires developing identity beyond ego needs and external recognition. The universe is asking, can you maintain your sense of worth when external circumstances don't validate your self-image? Have you developed spiritual identity that doesn't need external confirmation? When you can receive a parking ticket without any sense of personal insult or ego injury, you've transcended one of the most persistent spiritual obstacles. The seventh and most advanced patience lesson Yogananda taught is the Gratitude Transformation Mastery Test. The universe uses seemingly negative experiences, like parking tickets, to test whether you've developed the ultimate spiritual skill, the ability to find genuine gratitude and growth opportunities in every experience, regardless of how initially unpleasant or unwelcome it appears. Perhaps you've begun to notice that parking tickets and similar frustrations often lead to unexpected benefits. Meeting someone while dealing with the situation, discovering a new route, or developing patience that serves you later. Maybe you've started to see that minor inconveniences often redirect you away from bigger problems you weren't aware of, or toward opportunities you wouldn't have discovered otherwise. Or possibly you've developed the ability to appreciate these experiences as spiritual training that strengthens your emotional resilience and inner peace. This test represents the highest level of spiritual mastery because it requires seeing divine perfection in apparent imperfection and finding gifts in every experience. The universe is asking, can you find genuine gratitude for experiences that initially seem negative? Have you developed the spiritual vision to see how every experience serves your highest good? When you can feel genuinely grateful for a parking ticket because of the spiritual growth it provides, you've achieved one of the highest levels of spiritual mastery possible. Which of these 7 patience lessons resonates most strongly with your experience of daily frustrations? Can you begin to see how your reactions to minor annoyances might be revealing areas where you can develop greater spiritual mastery? Share your insights in the comments below. Now let's explore how to transform daily frustrations into spiritual advancement opportunities. Yogananda taught specific practices to work with irritating situations as conscious spiritual development rather than unconscious emotional reactivity. The first technique is the spiritual reframe practice. When you encounter parking tickets or similar frustrations, immediately ask yourself, what spiritual quality is this experience designed to help me develop? How is this situation serving my growth in patience, acceptance, or emotional mastery? This practice transforms victim consciousness into student consciousness and often reveals the hidden gifts in frustrating experiences. The second method is the gratitude discovery meditation. After experiencing any minor frustration, spend time in quiet reflection, looking for ways the experience might have served your highest good. Lessons learned, character developed, or problems avoided. Consciously appreciate the universe's wisdom in providing exactly the spiritual training you need. The third and most powerful practice Yogananda recommended is the peace preservation ritual. When faced with any irritating situation, consciously choose to maintain your inner peace, regardless of external circumstances. Place your hand on your heart and silently declare, I choose peace over being right. I choose growth over being comfortable. I choose spiritual advancement over external convenience. This experience is serving my highest evolution, and I receive it with gratitude. This practice transforms every frustration into a spiritual victory and accelerates your development of unshakable inner peace. These practices will help you transform every daily annoyance into an opportunity for spiritual mastery and emotional growth. To ensure you can access these frustration transformation techniques whenever you encounter irritating situations, preserve the Patience Mastery Spiritual Toolkit from this enlightening exploration. Let me share a transformative story that demonstrates the profound spiritual growth possible through embracing daily frustrations as divine curriculum. Yogananda worked with a student named Robert, who came to him in a state of chronic frustration and anger over what he perceived as constant unfair treatment, parking tickets, slow service, bureaucratic delays, and minor injustices that seemed to follow him everywhere. Robert felt victimized by life and couldn't understand why he seemed to attract more than his share of daily annoyances. Yogananda listened with compassion and then explained that Robert was actually receiving intensive spiritual training because his soul was ready for advanced lessons in patience and emotional mastery. Yogananda guided Robert to see each frustrating experience as a spiritual examination rather than a personal attack. He taught Robert to ask, "What is this experience trying to teach me?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" Over the following months, Robert began practicing gratitude for his daily frustrations and consciously using them as opportunities to develop patience, acceptance, and inner peace. As Robert transformed his relationship with minor annoyances from victimhood to spiritual studentship, something remarkable happened. He began attracting fewer frustrating experiences, and when they did occur, he remained completely peaceful and often discovered unexpected benefits. Years later, Robert became known for his extraordinary patience and emotional stability, qualities that served him as a successful mediator and counselor. He reflected, "Master, I thought those parking tickets and daily frustrations were the worst part of my life. But they were actually the universe's way of training me to become the peaceful, patient person I needed to be for my life's work." If this story illuminates new understanding about your own relationship with daily frustrations, or if you're curious about other examples of spiritual growth through minor annoyances, share your recognition by typing "spiritual training" in the comments. Here's Yogananda's most profound insight about daily frustrations. They're not obstacles to your spiritual growth. They're the very mechanism through which the universe develops your spiritual muscles and tests your readiness for higher consciousness. When you can maintain perfect peace while receiving a parking ticket, you've developed the emotional mastery necessary for handling life's bigger challenges with grace and wisdom. Your daily annoyances become your spiritual gymnasium, developing the patience, acceptance, and inner peace that mark true spiritual advancement. You begin to understand that the universe is constantly providing you with exactly the right experiences to develop the spiritual qualities you need for your highest evolution and service to others. Yogananda taught that the soul that can find divine curriculum in daily irritations has discovered the secret of continuous spiritual growth. Such a soul transforms every frustration into spiritual fuel and every annoyance into an advancement opportunity. When you master the art of finding spiritual lessons in parking tickets and minor inconveniences, you develop unshakable inner peace that serves you in every situation and relationship throughout your entire life. Having explored how the universe tests our spiritual development through daily frustrations, we're ready to examine an even more subtle aspect of divine guidance and cosmic communication. Sometimes the universe doesn't just test us through annoyances, it speaks to us through the most unexpected messengers and ordinary situations that carry profound spiritual significance. Your grocery store cashier just gave you a message from God. How to decode divine communication will reveal how the universe constantly communicates with you through seemingly random conversations, overheard phrases, and casual interactions that contain exactly the guidance or confirmation you need for your spiritual path. This exploration will teach you to recognize when ordinary people are delivering divine messages and how to decode the spiritual significance hidden in everyday encounters. To prepare your awareness for these profound revelations about divine communication and cosmic guidance, harmonize with the divine communication frequency and synchronize with the cosmic messaging awareness through your commitment to recognizing sacred guidance in the most ordinary moments of daily life.